Everything was going so well, and the highs were there, and all of a sudden there was the biggest low of all time.
Peter McNamara was a tennis star rocking the courts in both singles and doubles, scoring 3 Grand Slam doubles titles. Life was on the upswing until suddenly tragedy struck. A serious illness crept in and sadly took his life. And that's just the beginning of the heartbreak that kept him from returning to the game he loved. Stay tuned to hear the full story. Peter McNamara, born on July 5, 1955, in Melbourne, Australia, had quite the journey. Growing up in Melbourne, where his dad owned a haberdashery store, Peter went to Marcellin College, a Catholic school in Baleine. Once he hit the pro tour, he teamed up with Paul McNamee, who came from a less privileged background. McNamee once said, "We were different personalities, but quickly realized it was futile trying to change one another. The main point was that our games complemented each other's." Peter, known for his on-court flair, is probably best remembered for his incredible doubles partnership with McNamee. The Supermacs, as they were called, snagged the Wimbledon men's doubles titles in 1980 and 1982, plus the Australian Open in 1979. They were among the 14 titles they won as one of Australia's most successful tennis teams. McNamee fondly recalls, "He lived life to the fullest. He was just great company. I was lucky to know him for over 50 years as a friend." Peter's doubles success didn't stop there. He won 19 doubles titles in total, including 3 with Swiss player Heinz Gunthard and others, with fellow Australian Paul Cronk and American Billy Martin. To put it simply, he was quite the athlete. Before I dive further into his backstory, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay updated with our latest content. Now, back to Peter. He also had an impressive singles career, winning 5 singles titles and reaching world number 7 in 1983. He had victories over legends like Jimmy Connors and even Lendl, and had notable Grand Slam results, reaching the Australian Open semifinals in 1980 and the quarterfinals of both Wimbledon in 1981 and the French Open in 1982. I mean, how cool is that? McNamee mentions the 1981 Hamburg title, where Peter defeated Connors in the final, as one of the highlights of his career. What Peter did in Hamburg that year was unbelievable. He beat Connors in the final just a week after taking down Lendl in the World Cup in Dusseldorf, McNamee recalled. He was just playing out of his mind. Finishing 1981 and 1982 in the top 10 in the world was an amazing feat. Peter's rise in both singles and doubles was a testament to his stunning all-court style. McNamee said, "His backhand was something else. You could make postcards out of it. It was that beautiful. There wasn't a better-looking backhand around." Peter was especially proud of representing Australia in the Davis Cup. He had a 10-11 win-loss record, 9-7 in singles, 1-4 in doubles, across 10 ties between 1980 and 1986. He was part of the Australian team that won the Davis Cup in 1986, winning singles matches against New Zealand in the first round before Australia clinched the title against Sweden in the final. As you can see, he had settled quite comfortably into that tennis life, and his entire world revolved around the sport. But as fate would have it, tragedy first struck him in the form of a life-altering injury. In 1983, Peter climbed to number 7 in the singles rankings. But just as he was hitting his peak, he had to retire from both singles and doubles competition 4 years later. This happened right after he defeated Ivan Lendl in the final of an indoor tournament in Brussels. Here's how it went down. In the next tournament in Rotterdam, the acrylic hardcourt surface had uneven edges. During his first-round match against Jiri Granat, Peter stepped on an affected area, twisted his knee, and that effectively ended a career that many believed was on the verge of greatness. Bill Norris, the chief physio on the ATP Tour, rushed to his side. Peter tore the anterior cruciate ligament and damaged his medial meniscus on those warped boards, Norris said. He went through months of rehab, but his mobility was never quite the same. How heartbreaking is that? It's incredible how something as simple as a twisted knee can change the course of a promising career, don't you think? Naturally, he was off the tour for 21 months, and his victory over Lendl turned out to be the last singles title he ever won. "Macca's backhand was as good as I've ever seen, one-handed and beautiful," said Pat Cash, who was emerging as a top Australian Davis Cup player around the same time. Back in 1981, before that tragedy shook his world, his all-around talent shone brightly when he won the German Open, beating Jimmy Connors 7, 6, 6, 1-4, 6, 6-4, in what I consider the best match I ever saw him play. Even though European clay wasn't Connors' best surface, it was still a remarkable achievement. Hamburg's Rothenbaum Club has some of the heaviest clay courts, thanks to its damp climate, and few naturally attacking players enjoy playing on it. But unlike Connors, McNamara had done his homework. During the summers of 1977 and 1978, he skipped the main ATP Tour to play in smaller events all over France, from Beaulieu on the Mediterranean coast to La Baule on the Atlantic. "Great for my clay court game," he once reflected. "Great food and wine, everyone seems pleased to see me, and I get a few hundred francs guaranteed." It really shaped him into a fine clay court player. Once he realized his knee would never fully recover, he didn't let the grief take over him. That's just the kind of adaptable nature he had. Instead, he took up coaching and became a tough taskmaster. He arrived in Toulouse with a young Mark Philippoussis, giving some advice about work ethic. Philippoussis took his lessons to heart and went on to reach the finals of Wimbledon and the U.S. Open. Later, he worked with Grigor Dimitrov at the Patrick Mouratoglou Academy in Paris, then with Matt Ebden, and until recently with the Chinese player Wang Qiang, whose WTA ranking rose to number 20 under his guidance. But the knee injury wasn't even the final blow. A disease took over his life, weakening his otherwise strong body, and stopped him from continuing his tennis journey altogether. Soon he passed away at his home in Germany on a Saturday night after a long and courageous battle with prostate cancer. According to family friend and commentator David Law, he continued to play exhibition matches and coach throughout his illness, with few people ever knowing of his struggle. It's amazing how he managed to keep his battle with cancer so private while still being active in tennis. His story is truly inspiring. Even after being diagnosed with prostate cancer, he kept coaching and playing exhibition matches. He was still trying to hit a few balls, McNamee said, reflecting on McNamara's passion for life and tennis. He was a tennis player who loved his life and loved his profession. He passed away peacefully, with his wife Petra by his side. He leaves behind 4 children and 5 grandchildren. He wouldn't realize the outpouring of love that there's been today, McNamee mentioned at his funeral, overwhelmed by the positive messages from many of the game's most prominent figures. "I've had hundreds of messages, from John McEnroe to Darren Cahill, to Wally Mazer and Pat Cash. I could go on and on." Craig Tiley, CEO of Tennis Australia, described the late athlete as one of the great people of our sport. Tiley said, "I always felt that he was in many ways invincible because of his life as a player and as a coach." If you read what people are saying today, it's clear how much he cared about individuals and their development. Every player he coached improved and went to a different level after working with him. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out our latest one on Roger Taylor. I'm sure you'll like it. Lou Hode, a name that once echoed through the hallowed halls of tennis history. With his effortless grace and explosive power, he captured the hearts of fans worldwide. But behind the radiant smile and seemingly invincible spirit lay a story tinged with sadness and a tragic end. This is the tale of Lou Hode, a tennis legend whose life was as captivating as his game, and whose untimely demise left a void in the sport that would never be filled. In the golden age of Australian tennis, a young Lou Hode emerged as a shining star. With his powerful serve, aggressive net play, and natural athleticism, he captivated audiences with his electrifying style. Hode burst onto the scene in the early 1950s, quickly establishing himself as a force to be reckoned with. At just 18 years old, he reached the finals of the Australian Championships, showcasing his immense potential. In the years that followed, Hode's star continued to rise. He clinched his first Grand Slam singles title at the French Championships in 1956, followed by victories at Wimbledon and his home slam, the Australian Championships, that same year. His aggressive playing style and sheer power made him a fan favorite, and his rivalry with fellow Australian Ken Rosewall became one of the most exciting in tennis history. Hode's youthful energy and undeniable talent made him a symbol of a new era in tennis, one filled with thrilling matches and unforgettable moments. Lou Hode's meteoric rise was tragically interrupted by a relentless adversary, a debilitating back injury. The same explosive power that propelled his game also placed immense strain on his body. The pain began as a nagging discomfort, but it soon intensified, threatening to derail his promising career. Despite the excruciating pain, Hode's determination never wavered. He continued to play, pushing his body to the limit, driven by an unwavering passion for the sport. His resilience was awe-inspiring, but the toll on his body was undeniable. The injury forced him to alter his playing style, robbing him of some of his signature explosiveness. The constant pain and limitations took a toll on his mental and emotional well-being. He struggled with frustration and disappointment, watching helplessly as his ranking slipped and opportunities dwindled. The physical and psychological burden of the injury tested his spirit, but he refused to surrender to despair. In 1978, Hode underwent spinal fusion surgery, a risky procedure that offered a glimmer of hope. The surgeon, upon examining the extent of the damage, was astonished that Hode had been able to play at all, let alone compete at the highest level. The surgery was a success, and Hode experienced a newfound freedom from pain. The relief was palpable. He spoke of his back feeling marvelous and absolutely perfect. The surgery not only alleviated his physical suffering, but also reignited his zest for life. He embraced his newfound mobility, enjoying activities he had once taken for granted. Hode's battle with his back injury is a testament to his extraordinary resilience and unwavering spirit. He refused to let pain and adversity define him, choosing instead to fight back and reclaim his life. His story serves as an inspiration to anyone facing challenges, reminding us that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit can triumph. Even as tennis took a back seat, Lou Hode's vibrant spirit continued to shine. He embraced life beyond the court with the same enthusiasm and zest that had defined his playing career. Settling in Spain with his wife, Jenny Staley, he embarked on a new chapter, establishing a tennis resort that became a haven for players and enthusiasts alike. Lou Hode's Campo de Tennis was more than just a business venture. It was a testament to his enduring love for the game. He relished the opportunity to share his passion with others, offering coaching and mentorship to aspiring players. The resort became a vibrant community where laughter, camaraderie, and the rhythmic thwack of tennis balls filled the air. Beyond the courts, Hode embraced the simple pleasures of life. He spent time with his family, indulging in his love for fishing and enjoying the picturesque Spanish landscape. His infectious smile and warm personality endeared him to locals and visitors alike. Though his professional tennis career had come to an end, Hode's spirit remained indomitable. He found fulfillment in his new ventures and cherished the relationships he fostered. His life beyond tennis was a testament to his adaptability and his ability to find joy in the everyday moments. Life, with its unpredictable turns, dealt Lou Hode a devastating blow in the winter of 1994. At the age of 59, amidst enjoying his life away from the professional tennis circuit, he received a diagnosis that shook him to his core: a rare and incurable form of leukemia. The news was a cruel twist of fate, a stark reminder that even the strongest among us are vulnerable to the whims of illness. Hode, who had battled back from a career-threatening injury, now faced a far more formidable opponent. The diagnosis cast a long shadow over his life, a chilling reminder of his mortality. The tennis world was stunned. Hode, the once invincible champion, was now facing a battle he couldn't win on the court. The outpouring of support from fans, friends, and fellow players was a testament to the impact he had made on the sport and the lives he had touched. For Hode, the diagnosis was a stark reality check. The future he had envisioned, filled with family, friends, and the simple pleasures of life, was now uncertain. The disease progressed rapidly, leaving him weak and fatigued. The once vibrant and energetic man was now confined to his bed, his body ravaged by the relentless leukemia. Despite the grim prognosis, Hode faced his illness with characteristic courage and grace. He refused to let the disease define him, choosing instead to cherish the time he had left with his loved ones. He drew strength from his family and friends, their unwavering support providing him with comfort and solace during his darkest hours. The news of Hode's leukemia diagnosis served as a poignant reminder of the fragility of life. It underscored the importance of cherishing every moment and appreciating the precious gift of health. For Hode, the diagnosis was a heartbreaking turn of events, but it also brought into sharp focus the things that truly mattered: love, family, and the enduring spirit of the human heart. As the leukemia progressed, Lou Hode's physical strength dwindled, but his spirit remained unbroken. He faced his final months with remarkable courage and dignity, surrounded by the love and support of his family and friends. Despite the pain and uncertainty, Hode never lost his sense of humor or his zest for life. He continued to share stories and laughter with his loved ones, creating precious memories that would forever be cherished. His unwavering optimism in the face of adversity was a testament to his extraordinary character. On July 3, 1994, Lou Hode passed away peacefully at the age of 59. The tennis world mourned the loss of a true legend, a player whose brilliance on the court was matched only by his warmth and generosity off it. His passing left a void in the hearts of many, but his legacy lived on. In the wake of his death, tributes poured in from around the globe, celebrating his remarkable life and contributions to the sport. He was remembered not only for his Grand Slam victories and captivating playing style, but also for his resilience, his humor, and his unwavering love for the game. Hode's final chapter, though marked by sadness, was also a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. He faced his illness with grace and dignity, reminding us all of the importance of living life to the fullest and cherishing every precious moment. Lou Hode's legacy transcends his untimely passing. He is remembered not only as a tennis virtuoso, but also as a symbol of courage and resilience. His electrifying playing style and infectious personality continue to inspire generations of players. Tributes and memorials stand as a testament to his enduring impact on the sport. Though his life was tragically cut short, Lou Hode's spirit lives on, forever etched in the hearts of those who witnessed his brilliance and admired his unwavering love for the game. If you were touched by his story, share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's celebrate the remarkable life of this tennis legend.
And you're an amateur, but yet your life is tennis.
Arthur Ashe, an undisputed legend in the world of tennis, faced a tragic twist in his life when a mismanaged blood transfusion caused him to contract AIDS, which ultimately claimed his life. Arthur Robert Ashe Jr. was an American tennis star known for his incredible achievements. He won 3 Grand Slam singles titles and 2 in doubles. Ashe made history as the first black player on the United States Davis Cup team and remains the only black man to win singles titles at Wimbledon, the U.S. Open, and the Australian Open. In 1975, Ashe was ranked world number 1 by several tennis experts and publications. He received the Martini and Rossi Award and was named ATP Player of the Year. Although the ATP computer rankings placed him at number 2 in May 1976, his impact on the sport was undeniable. Sadly, his life took a tragic turn when he contracted AIDS, which ultimately led to his passing. But before we tell you all the details, make sure to subscribe. In July 1979, at the age of 36, Ashe suffered a heart attack while leading a tennis clinic in New York. Given his high level of fitness as a professional athlete, this heart attack drew significant attention to the hereditary nature of heart disease. Ashe's mother had passed away from cardiovascular disease at just 27, and his father had suffered heart attacks at 55 and 59, with the second occurring just a week before Ashe's own attack. Cardiac catheterization revealed that one of Ashe's arteries was completely closed, another was 95% blocked, and a third was 50% blocked in 2 places. On December 13, 1979, Ashe underwent a quadruple bypass surgery performed by Dr. John Hutchinson. A few months after his surgery, Ashe was eager to return to professional tennis. However, during a family trip to Cairo, Egypt, he experienced chest pains while running. Concerned, he stopped running and along with his close friend Douglas Stein, sought medical advice. Stein urged him to return to New York City to be close to his cardiologist, surgeon, and top-tier medical facilities. In 1983, Ash underwent a second heart surgery to correct issues from the previous procedure. Following this surgery, he became the national campaign chairman for the American Heart Association, promoting heart health and awareness. In September 1988, Ash was hospitalized after experiencing paralysis in his right arm. Exploratory brain surgery and numerous tests revealed he had toxoplasmosis, a parasitic disease commonly found in people with HIV. Further testing confirmed that Ash was HIV positive. He and his doctors believed he contracted the virus from blood transfusions during his second heart surgery. Ash and his wife decided to keep his illness private to protect their 2-year-old daughter. In September 1992, Ash suffered a mild heart attack. Around this time, a friend of his who worked for USA Today heard rumors about his illness and called him to confirm the story. Faced with the impending publication, Ash decided to preempt the newspaper and publicly announced on April 8, 1992, that he had contracted HIV. Although he criticized USA Today for forcing his hand, Ash also expressed relief that he no longer had to keep his illness a secret. Following his announcement, hundreds of readers contacted USA Today to criticize their decision to publish the story that led to Ash revealing his condition. AIDS eventually claimed his life. On February 6, 1993, Ash passed away from AIDS-related pneumonia at New York Hospital at 3:13 p.m. at the age of 49. His death marked a profound loss to the world. 4 days later, on February 10th, his funeral was held at the Arthur Ashe Athletic Center in Richmond, Virginia. Governor Douglas Wilder, a close friend of Ash's, made a special arrangement for his body to lie in state at the governor's mansion in Richmond. This gesture allowed more than 5,000 people to come and pay their respects, lining up to walk past his casket. The funeral was a deeply emotional event, officiated by Andrew Young, who had also performed the service at Ash's wedding in 1977. Over 6,000 mourners attended, showing just how much Ash was loved and admired. Honoring his final wish, Ash was buried alongside his mother in Woodland Cemetery in Richmond, Virginia, a touching tribute to his deep family ties. 2 days later, on February 12th, a memorial service was held at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine in Manhattan. This service offered another opportunity for family, friends, and admirers to come together and celebrate Ash's life and legacy. His excellence was way beyond just tennis. After retiring from tennis, Arthur Ashe embraced many new roles. He became a writer for Time magazine and The Washington Post, and he worked as a commentator for ABC Sports and HBO from the early 1980s until just a few months before his death. Ashe was also dedicated to nurturing young talent and founded the National Junior Tennis League. From 1981 to 1985, he served as captain of the U.S. Davis Cup team. His contributions to the sport were recognized in 1985 when he was elected to the International Tennis Hall of Fame. Ashe was deeply committed to civil rights. In 1985, he was part of a delegation of 31 prominent African Americans who visited South Africa to witness the country's political changes toward racial integration. That same year, on January 11th, he was arrested outside the South African embassy in Washington, D.C., during an anti-apartheid rally. Years later, on September 9, 1992, he was arrested again, this time outside the White House, protesting the crackdown on Haitian refugees. His career was truly extraordinary.
Ladies and gentlemen, Frank Wonderful, 31st.
In 1968, Ashe won the United States Amateur Championships and the first U.S. Open of the Open era, making him the first black male to win the title and the only player to win both the Amateur and Open National Championships in the same year. Due to his amateur status, He couldn't accept the $14,000 prize money, which went to runner-up Tom Ocker, while Ash received just $20 a day for expenses. His brother Johnny's decision to serve an additional tour in Vietnam allowed Arthur to maintain his amateur status and avoid the Vietnam War draft. In December 1968, Ash helped the U.S. win the Davis Cup, and by the end of the year, he had won 10 of 22 tournaments with a 72-10 match record. In 1969, he helped the U.S. retain the Davis Cup, defeating Romania in the final. In 1970, Ash won his second Grand Slam singles title at the Australian Open. That year, South Africa was expelled from the Davis Cup competition due to its racial policies. Ash turned professional and signed a 5-year contract with Lamar Hunt's World Championship Tennis. Though he reached the Australian Open final again in 1971, he lost to Ken Rosewall. In 1972, Ash reached the U.S. Open final, but lost to Ilya Nastase after leading the match. Frustrated by the lack of fair winnings for players, he helped found the Association of Tennis Professionals and became its president in 1974. In 1973, Ash joined an ATP boycott of Wimbledon, protesting the suspension of Yugoslavian player Niki Pilic. In 1975, Ashe won the WCT Finals and then Wimbledon, defeating Jimmy Connors in a stunning upset. Ash continued to play, winning the Australian Open doubles in 1977. But a heel injury and subsequent heart surgery in 1979 led to his retirement in 1980. His career record was 818 wins, 260 losses, and 51 titles. That is it for this one. But if you happen to like tennis legends, make sure to check out our latest videos on our channel Tennis Icons. I'm sure you will love it.
Rob Ramage is one of the most famous names that Canadian ice hockey has produced, a defenseman who played over 15 seasons in the NHL, playing for various teams ranging from the Flyers to the Rockies, a 2-time Stanley Cup winner of the sport, yet also a name much tainted in the sport for events off of the field. For no matter the wins and the titles that Rob Ramage had brought to his teams, they have since been tainted by his actions off the field that have left everyone from his fans to his rivals to reconsider the legacy and the respect that they gave the once star player. Rob Ramage was a star player in the game when news hit the channels about a horrific incident that he had been a part of, one that has continued to haunt him to this day, one that he cannot seem to escape from.
Rob Ramage and his family are facing an uncertain future tonight. Just hours ago, a jury in Newmarket found the former captain of the Leafs guilty.
After all, for sports fans, players are more than personalities that exist on the field. For the most devoted of fans, they are idols to embody. From their upbringing to their lifestyle to their daily routines, everything is aspirational. Given this, it was no surprise that Rob Ramage's personal life was the site of intense speculation when this news broke. On December 15, 2003, Ramage was involved in an accident that took the life of Chicago Blackhawks coach Keith Magnuson. Magnuson was alongside Ramage in his car when the vehicle swerved into the oncoming lane and collided with another vehicle, injuring those in the opposing vehicle too. This accident was shocking not just to fans, but to observers too. A star player of the game was involved in a horrific accident that also took the life of a celebrated coach. In a way, sport in real life became one through this horrific accident. The accident was widely blamed as a case of Rob Ramage driving under the influence. It was reported that Rob Ramage had been drinking at a funeral service beforehand. Ramage was held primarily responsible for the horrific crash that occurred and the life that it took. Moral character is often underplayed in the life of athletes when compared to their on-field performance, but without a doubt, it plays a huge role in shaping the public perception of every sports star. No matter how good of an athlete one might be, they have to be seen as a good public character to be marketed to general audiences. For any person of celebrity status, their dirty laundry being aired out into the open is often their greatest fear. It was no different here for Rob Ramage, perhaps even worse in this case, as the more details came out about this accident, the more indefensible it seemed. Blood and urine samples carried from the crash would indicate that Rob Ramage was intoxicated at the time of driving, and alcohol was most likely involved in the crash. This only implicated him in the crash further. The media would follow the developments of the case with keen interest, and over time this would develop into a media frenzy, one that would make sure that the name of Rob Ramage was forever associated with the case and the death of Magnuson. The case would build up over several years, and even though it was years after the original crash, the public profile of Ramage and Magnuson ensured that the case was anything but forgotten. Everything from the court's proceedings to the judge's updates to the witness statements was keenly followed. Given the amount of media attention that the case was getting, it was no surprise that the media would build on it further. Eventually, it became a topic of common discussion, and as the proceedings went on and on, things began to be clearer. Despite the arguments of the defense to the contrary, it became evident that Rob Ramage had some amount of alcohol in his system when he was driving. This was primarily blamed for the accident, and as time passed, public opinion began to align with this too. Eventually, it seems all but certain that Rob Ramage would be pinned for the death of Magnuson. Rob Ramage was charged with impaired driving causing death and dangerous driving causing death. Ramage was determined to fight the case and would plead not guilty on all counts. His defense would consist of denying that he was drunk at the time of driving, asserting that the blood and urine tests were flawed, and that the smell of alcohol on the site came from the beer cans that had exploded after the crash. This defense would go little in court, as most dismissed it as a last-ditch effort to defend the name of Ramage. It made little impact on how the final judgment was made by the court when Ramage was finally sentenced. In the end, Rob Ramage was found guilty on all counts. Rob Ramage was charged with 4 years in prison for the charge. To onlookers, this was surprising, as the sentence was one the hardest ever sounded out for a charge of this kind, one given to a motorist with no prior experience of drunk driving. Even though this verdict was expected in the case, it shocked people when it was announced. For a public figure like Rob Ramage, being handed such a long sentence was a humiliation that stemmed from the long jail time. The sentence was unexpectedly long when people might have expected that a public figure like Rob Ramage would have been let go with merely a slap on the wrist. It seems that the justice system wanted Rob Ramage to be made an example, for others to be shown that no matter their celebrity status, a crime such as drunk driving, especially when it took the life of another, was not something that would have been lightly let go of. Rob Ramage would serve his sentence from July 2010 to May 2011, when his request for parole was granted. This accident would taint the image in the minds of many of his fans forever, who could no longer see him as the icon who had won the Stanley Cup multiple times. For many fans, Rob Ramage was the man who had been responsible for the loss of the life of Keith Magnuson. However, soon after his release from jail, Rob Ramage would once again be back in the world of ice hockey. He would soon be named as the assistant coach of the London Knights. This sudden move did not garner much attention initially. Those whose attention caught it was a shocking sight, as just months ago, Rob Ramage had been locked up in prison, serving his sentence for having lost the life of his passenger during an episode of drunk driving. Being back in the coaching seat, Rob Ramage wanted to use the years of experience and skills that he had built up and use them towards creating a new youth that could dominate the rink. But there remained a lot of roadblocks in how he would go about doing that. The trauma of the accident that resulted in Magnuson parting with his life was still fresh in the minds of many. Rob Ramage, to these people, was the one responsible for this. He would be the one that would have to repent for these crimes. Being back in the public limelight so soon was just being disrespectful to those who had suffered as a result of his actions. However, for Ramage and his supporters, the path was clear. He had done his time, paid his dues, and made amends. And even the family of Magnuson had forgiven him and did not want him to go to jail for the unfortunate incident that had occurred. He was just trying to make an honest living here and do what he did best. Yet despite the shocks, Rob managed to stick with ice hockey, as this was the game that had brought him fame and notoriety, and he intended to be back in its world. His time as a coach would continue, as in July 2014 he rejoined the Canadiens organization, being appointed the player development coach of the team. This movie showed that most people, or at least those in the administrative roles, had forgotten about the incident with Rob Ramage that had occurred not even a decade back. Or maybe this could simply be seen as forgiveness, as the family of Keith Magnuson had also told others that they had forgiven Rob Ramage and had made a plea for him not to be jailed. Rob Ramage is currently playing a role as the head coach for the St. Louis Blues Warriors, where he has been tasked with building up the team and making sure they can go up against the greatest in the sport. While his accident may have cut short the career of Rob Ramage, there is no doubt that he was already a much accomplished player even by that point. Having played in the NHL for over 15 seasons and almost half the team, Rob had a bevy of experience that could be counted on for him making a name for himself. Starting first in the World Hockey Association's Birmingham Bulls, Rob Ramage Ramage would have a very successful first season and would be named a first-team All-Star. This would foreshadow the sign of the greatness that would be coming his way. Rob Ramage would make his debut in the NHL with the Colorado Rockies. He would spend over 3 seasons with the team and show his talents enough to be traded in by the Rockies to the St. Louis Blues in exchange for a first-round draft pick. This surely showed the importance of Rob's talents to the number of selectors that lined up the stands of the NHL games. Starting a career playing with the London Knights, Rob Ramage made a mark from the early onset on the field. Playing as a defenseman, he was sought after by many teams who recognized his potential to be developed as a player and contribute to their lineups. Being too young for the NHL lineup, Rob Ramage would go to the World Hockey Association instead, where he would sign with the Birmingham Bulls. His rookie career with the Birmingham Bulls was successful to the point of Ramage being named a first-team All-Star. Rob Ramage up to this point had not played in the NHL, but there were already whispers that he would be making his debut in the league. This was especially a pertinent question to ask given the unstable status of the WHA and its fate. As things would transpire, this was exactly what would happen in the next season. The WHA would unceremoniously merge with the NHL, with some teams going over to the NHL. Most, however, would fold, and this would leave their players to fend for themselves and find a new home for themselves in the NHL. Rob Ramage would be one of these players, but lucky for him, his skill and talent would make him stand out compared to the rest of players, and he would soon find himself a home in the NHL. Ramage would finally make his entry into the NHL in the 1979 NHL Draft, where he would be selected by the Colorado Rockies. He would play with the Rockies for 3 seasons, after which, seeing his worth, the Rockies would trade him to the St. Louis Blues in exchange for a first-round draft pick. The Blues would help Rob Ramage develop considerably as a player. His defense would be developed significantly. As a defenseman, he would go on to shine as a star player for the Rockies and make his mark on the field that he played on. It was here with the Rockies that Rob Ramage would have a career-best 66 points during the 85-86 season. It would be the same season that the Blues would make the Stanley Cup semifinals. As it would become a pattern in the career of Rob Ramage, he would make plays that would lead his team to winning highs. Yet this would not often be rewarded by loyalty from the team, as he would more often than not be traded later on. Ramage's next placement would be in the Calgary Flames. It was here that he would contribute to their Stanley Cup, with the Flames winning the Stanley Cup in '69. However, soon after winning, he would be traded with the Toronto Maple Leafs for a second-round draft pick. Ramage's next high-profile placement would be with the Montreal Canadiens, where he would help them to defeat the Los Angeles Kings for the '93 Stanley Cup. However, soon after the win, he would be traded with the Philadelphia Flyers due to the Canadiens having a deep team. The Flyers would be the final placement of Rob Ramage, and he would play 15 games with them before retiring in 1994. Throughout his career, Rob Ramage showed grit, determination, and a can-do spirit that would serve him no matter which team he was a part of. He would show that it did not matter the team that one played in, but rather the effort they would put on the rink. This would be recognized by the fans of the game, as throughout his career, Rob Ramage would play in a number of teams, ones both good and bad, but his efforts in the both of them would stand out on their own, making a mark on spectators. Yet despite the fantastic plays of Rob Ramage, the incident would perhaps leave a lasting impact on the career of Rob Ramage, would happen after the end of his career. That being the death of Keith Magnuson, an incident still recalled whenever the name of Rob Ramage is brought up in whatever context.